Welcome to another PL Together Lounge Talk. I'm Adam Geller, founder and CEO of Athena, the video observation platform. Today, we're talking with Heather Hill. She is a researcher at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and she's also the co-author of a column in EdWeek that appears regularly with Susanna Loeb called What Works, What Doesn't. Heather, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. It's nice to be here.
Well, let's start with something that feels like Ripley would have put it in the Believe It or Not museum, which is you're ready to tell us teachers don't need to have meetings where they pull out last week's assessment and talk about that data. Tell us why.
Oh, I will actually go even further and say they should not have those meetings where they pull out the data and talk about how kids are doing. So let me back up, though, and I'll tell you about what I did to sort of come to this conclusion. So teachers studying student data has been around for quite a while. When data started being available to schools and districts, a lot of people said, oh, well, teachers should study this data, and then they'll know what their kids don't know, and they'll be able to adjust instruction accordingly. And a lot of academics went off and did pretty rigorous studies of programs that were designed to get teachers to study student assessment data. And what we found 10 studies that were conducted when I was doing this little review. I found 10 studies that were conducted over the last 10 years or so. And they did 23 sort of statistical models where they tried to find an effect, sort of 23 chances for one of these programs to have an impact. Across all of these 23, they found 2 positive impacts, 1 negative impact, and 20 zero impacts. So in my field, that is considered to be a very, quote, precisely estimated zero. So like the positive and the negative pretty much balance each other out, and there's a lot of zeros there. So across 10 different programs, 10 different shots at getting teachers to really be productive and like see this theory of action through, like teachers know what kids don't know, they change their instruction, kids learn more, 10 tries, 0 impacts. And so that convinced me that we're doing something wrong in schools. That convinced me that it's time to really rethink this practice and rethink the time that teachers spend on it, because there's an opportunity cost. Teachers could be doing other things that may be more productive in terms of helping them meet their kids' needs.
So there's a lot there. And if I'm a building leader and I'm convinced that teachers should be talking about data in this time, okay, great, you have some studies, but was there a theme about what's missing in those discussions that you could tell us about that could help convince me that like, oh, okay, yeah, talking about data isn't the right way to spend our time?
Yeah, so actually I supervised a couple of dissertations where people watched these data team meetings. I've been to data team meetings, and I think 2 things tend to happen. So first, I think there's a kind of tendency in some social settings for people to say, with good intention, oh, like Adam did not great on that assessment, the interim assessment last week, or the assessment that we gave at the end of the unit, but he was having a bad day or he was having a bad week. And that resulted in the sort of performance that he produced on the assessment. So that may be true, but it doesn't signal to the collective that anything has to change in terms of the teaching that's going on. The second is, so teachers then would say, well, we need to like remediate this problem Adam has with division. And what I saw a lot of was, I think because teachers are under a lot of time pressure, a lot of kind of quick fixes where somebody would say, oh, like Pinterest has this dinosaur division worksheet that's really going to help Adam out. Why don't you go download it? And that, I'm always a little worried about Pinterest worksheets, A, and B, that is not a coherent sort of way to address whatever's going on with Adam. It isn't getting inside. Like, so what part of the procedure don't you understand? Is it sort of like a basic conceptual misunderstanding? Is it something about place value and how that plays into division? So it's not really tuned up to what, this particular hypothetical child named Adam isn't able to do.
Well, it sounds like we're getting out the red marker. We're canceling the data team meetings. But we could still spend that time in other ways, maybe reflecting on practice and talking about what's happening in our classrooms and other things, right?
That's right. Well, I think that the sort of the two things about this, like I can cancel, if I had a red marker, I would cancel teacher data team meetings. Two things though. First, this is not to say like administrators shouldn't look at student data, because I think that's an important part of sort of helming a school, is to say, where are our kids not doing okay? And what do we have to do to meet those needs? The second thing is the exception to this rule that I found, these sort of largely null result studies, was programs that are more prescriptive about how to help the kids who are missing key pieces of knowledge, right? So like, Adam, you don't understand this thing about long division. Here is a little bit of personalized instruction, whether that be something that's online or something that the teacher does that helps you, Adam the student, then master whatever is missing. And so when you had that level of specification, so it gave teachers literally something to do with Adam that wasn't like they had to invent from whole cloth or figure out on their own. It was supplied to them. Those programs actually did show positive impacts. So 2 pieces of better news before we canceled the whole thing.
Well, thank you, Heather, for sharing the data about data team meetings and reviewing data in schools. And if you're just finding this conversation on some corner of the internet or shared on social media, join us at pltogether.org to find the rest of my conversations with Heather, as well as with many others. Heather, thank you so much for being part of PL Together.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. This was fun.